All right, guys. So let's talk about the latest CPI numbers, which were higher than expected. And this means that the Federal Reserve now has a very good reason to continue to raise interest rates. Now, regardless of what the CPI numbers were, with the current state of the economy, prices, inflation, the impending recession, more than likely Fed Chair Jerome Powell had every intention of raising interest rates. But with the CPI numbers being as high as they are, there's no doubt that continued interest rates will be in our future. But how will these interest rate increases continue to affect us? And are you and your family prepared? Do you think that our wallets and our bank accounts are sturdy enough to keep up with these additional interest rate hikes coming from the Fed? How about the economy? And also, economists are saying that stimulus checks should not be sent out since it's one of the main reasons why inflation is so high. But at the same time, stimulus checks are what a lot of struggling Americans waited on because basically they barely have enough to keep themselves afloat at this point. Now, question is, are you one of these people that are struggling because our government made poor choices in the past? Just drop me a quick comment, yes or no, in the comment section down below. For more news on the economy, economic preparation, the U.S. stock market, economic preparedness, passive income, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Also click that notification bell icon. Always want to thank you guys for dropping a like for the videos. I totally appreciate the support. But let's talk about inflation. Matter of fact, let's talk about inflation and stimulus checks in the same sentence. As difficult as a task as it is, like on the one hand, analysts are basically saying that these checks caused historic inflation, and while on the other hand, some are saying that stimulus checks actually saved their lives and kind of kept them going and kept them afloat. I'm a bit torn because the checks, there were only 3 of them and they were rather small. So, I don't know how much of an impact that they would have really had on most families, but I guess, it certainly would help. Now, an opinion piece by Eric Foster basically touted that these particular checks were absolutely needed by so many Americans because no one saw the health crisis coming, and I certainly didn't see it coming. But at the same time, he acknowledges that releasing the money in order to provide stimulus checks for everyone also contributed to the inflation that we're seeing today. So, where does this leave us today? Now, if you guys would allow me to kind of think out loud once again, while we can't be afforded another check for direct assistance, we seem to have all the money in the world to send to other countries, which is rather interesting. I mean, from immigration to the Ukraine to the this to the that, don't even get me started. But just so that you guys know, the money that they're sending is taxpayer money, or if they're borrowing it in advance, they're starting something that taxpayers have to ultimately pay for, which, are you telling me that this is not going to have any impact on inflation? I guess that's neither here nor there. Now, I just thought that I would start with this as it's very timely with one of our topics today. So a key topic that we're going to focus on is just how will these interest rate hikes affect us in the long run? So for starters, if you have a credit card, or let's just face it, credit cards, the annual percentage rate, whether it's a Visa, a MasterCard, American Express, a Home Depot card, a Lowe's card, a Discover card, it's probably close to around 18%, if not higher, unless you have some type of promotional credit card rate. Now, if the Fed decides to raise interest rates by 75 more basis points, Americans, they're going to have to spend a lot more in addition to the $5.3 billion in interest this year alone. And if you're on a fixed income and you borrowed a little bit more than you should have, I mean, heck, even with prices going higher and higher, sometimes you just have to, right? But if you borrowed a little bit more than you should have, you're going to be in trouble unless you have some way to make additional money to make up for these higher expenses. Auto loans. Auto loans are likely to be affected by these Fed rate hike increases. And we're expecting to hear from the Fed in a couple of hours, 2 o'clock today. So hopefully I can get this video out before the Fed Chair Jerome Powell speaks for the day. But so, it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a doozy. Now, let's think about this for a second. Auto loans will be affected. And if they went from 5 to 6%, you would be paying about $1,348 more in interest over the course of a 72-month car loan, assuming you borrowed, say, $40,000. Now, still, this is just based on a 75 basis point increase. Now, the same hike would also cause mortgage rates to skyrocket. So let's just say that the average home loan is $409,000. Now, on a 30-year fixed rate mortgage, you would be paying over $30,000 more. So take into consideration that we're only discussing the possibilities here, so take this into consideration. Many people's numbers are way bigger than this. So it could be far worse than what I'm projecting here. So let's also just imagine, what if the Fed decides to raise interest rates by 100 basis points? Forget about a Fed pivot. What if the Fed goes even harder in the same direction and they do a 100 basis point increase? Now, I don't even want to think about how much we're going to be paying for loans, mortgages, and everything else at that point. It effectively removes the option for real estate and housing in our lives, because we know that we won't be able to afford these rates soon enough. Some analysts are even predicting double-digit mortgage rates, which is just, I don't even want to think about it, to be honest with you. Now, also, the housing market seems to be on a collision course, as almost a quarter of builders are now lowering their prices as rates keep going up, even though real estate costs more when they started, together with labor and materials. And these builders are now left with no choice but to lower their expectations and, lower their expectations for a return, lower their expectations for revenue, lower their profit margin expectations, will ultimately affect their businesses' balance sheets. It's going to be rough out there for builders, and anyone who is a real estate investor needing to sell property right now, more than likely is going to be feeling the pain. Now, we're at the onset of seeing multiple market collapses right now. And I hope you, when I say you, I mean my family, my YouTube family. I hope my YouTube family is prepared for what is happening, for what is coming down the pipeline. And like I said, we're on the onset of seeing multiple markets collapse right now before our very eyes. And it's not going to be pretty. I'm talking about the housing market, the stock market, the commodities market. Lots of markets are going to likely collapse. And if you don't believe me, that's fine, but hear me out. So Walmart, Macy's, Target, big retailers, right? But why do you think that they're canceling billions of dollars in orders? Think about that. Why would they cancel billions of dollars in orders right before the big holiday season? We all know that Q4 is when retailers make the bulk of their income. They make their margins in the fourth quarter. Why would they reduce or even cancel their orders? So think about it. So right before it's expected that we would splurge on gifts and a Christmas tree and clothes and all these different things that we're accustomed to, well, let's think about it. Maybe they know something that we don't. Or if you believe me, maybe they're preparing for a severe economic downturn. And, I could already see some comments. You've been saying that for so long. Well, a crash takes time, guys. A crash takes time. And to be honest, I actually wish that I was wrong, but the signs are all there. One of which is that thieves, they don't even care anymore. They'll steal whatever they can. But listen to this. So more than a week ago, a San Francisco police officer discovered that a marked police truck, it's marked, okay, right? So he knew it was a police truck. He found that the truck had its catalytic converter stolen. I mean, how crazy do you have to be to steal a catalytic converter from a cop car? Or even better question, how desperate do you have to be? I mean, I know that this is an isolated incident, but you got to think about this for a second, right? So, and it's also, it was also, it wasn't just one truck. They hit 3 marked police vehicles. So this person was not just gambling one time. And, so I'll just leave that out there for you guys to think about, though. But here's the best part of the story. So the theft happened at the Special Operations Bureau building at the 17th and Daharo in San Francisco, where the local SWAT team and the bomb squad stay in. Now, I wish I was making this stuff up, but it actually happened. So, things are getting crazy and people are not scared anymore. Some people are just so desperate that maybe just fear is just deleted from their brain or whatever. But now we've also talked about how shortages are happening across the globe. And if you love coffee, then you might want to listen to this next piece. So the world's top Arabica producer in Brazil is now spiraling toward a record low inventory. And I hope that a lot of you guys, I know that a lot of you guys drink coffee. So it might be a good idea to stockpile some extra coffee beans, some extra Keurig, K-cups, whatever you drink, right? Because more of a robust demand will surely be boosting up prices, and it will likely be affecting inventory. And, it's never foolish to be prepared for anything, even a hurricane, right? So in Puerto Rico, blackouts and internet outages, they're affecting the entire island as they were hit by Tropical Storm Fiona. And, this is something that I want you guys to think about. I mean, imagine bringing an umbrella on a sunny day. Seems kind of strange, right? Well, what if it rains, right? Then you're the only one that brought something useful on that day. Now, I forgot where this particular saying goes, but basically it's like, it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. And the same goes for power. The same goes for internet. The same goes for food and for money. Buy a separate power bank and keep it charged. If you can afford a generator, buy a generator and keep it fueled with whatever the fuel source is, whether it's battery or diesel, solar, unleaded fuel, whatever the case is. Propane generators, buy a separate power bank and keep it charged. Buy a backup internet device, have a backup prepaid cell phone just in case an internet service provider goes down. We want to think of all the different redundant plans that we can come up with so that we're not impacted when things happen. We actually have multiple internet providers in my house. And one of the internet providers went down yesterday. We have AT&T and they went down, but thankfully our Comcast internet was still up. So we just kind of migrated over to the slower internet because we don't pay for super duper high speed for both of them. One is just the backup, but it got us through. And this morning internet's back up. So anyway, keep some extra money in your house. I'm not saying keep a ton of money, but keep some extra money in your house. And these are some very simple things that you can do, but it can impact, its impact will be well beyond what you would have imagined. And you'll be very, very happy and thankful that you did. Well, landscaper's about to start up in the middle of my video. Thank you guys very much. But anyway, especially with the way that our economy is right now, there is no telling what is going to crash next. It is up to us to prepare because we know that we're not going to get as much help. That's just what it is. It is what it is. But what are your thoughts on these particular updates? I don't know if you guys can see the landscaper guy driving past in the backyard. Anyway, but what are you guys' thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on the updates that I share with you guys today? Make sure to get in on the conversation in the comments down below. But while you guys are down there, make sure to smash the thumbs up button for the video. Also, if you're new to the channel, you want to keep updated with everything that matters to you regarding our economy and your money. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to know the truth, you know where to get it. If you want to learn more about economic preparation, economic preparedness, make sure your family is prepared. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are awesome. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Be safe.